HSBC is concerned, it's already gone live with blockchain. What's been the results so far, and when do you intend to scale?
Yeah, so for us, distributed ledger technology, I do resist the blockchain thing, is super important for us as it regards trade finance. We've been actively pursuing that now in 3 or 4 different ways for a couple of years. It'll scale when the ecosystems around that want to, so we think it'll happen kind of garment industry, commodities, et cetera, et cetera. We can't make that happen. We're the biggest trade bank in the world by far. We're twice as big as the next one, but we can't make it happen, so we want to be at the forefront of each one of those developments.
Realistically, when can you scale? What, in 2, 3 years? And what kind of transaction volumes are you looking at right now?
It's when customers and their supply chains come onto it. So it's not about when we can scale, it's when enough people come into any given sub-ecosystem, that will be the determinant of it. So if I had to guess, I would say it's like kind of a 3-year, 5-year journey. But if you look at blockchain, it's been around for 10 years and it hasn't found that many knockout use cases just yet, so it could be longer, quite easily.
Is it a matter of changing the mindset to get critical mass?
No, it isn't actually. I mean, normally banks get all the accusations about being really bureaucratic and requiring a lot of paperwork. All the bureaucracy and paperwork isn't driven by banks in trade finance, it's driven by customs and excise, ports, freight forwarders, shippers, logistics companies and all the rest. So we all need to get together and work together to take all of that stuff out or to move it onto distributed ledger. So that's a collaborative effort, and we all know in financial services that takes a long time. So something like SWIFT, which I'm sadly old enough to remember the beginnings of, it took a couple of decades to really get us to where we imagined we'd get within a few years. So don't hold your breath, I think.
Now, Andy, Hong Kong is a very important market for HSBC.
Super important for us.
It accounts for more than 50% of your profit. What do you make of the increasing tensions between protesters and the police?
Look, I was there this morning. I'm going home there tonight. I live there. Civil unrest is really sad. We would just love to see the situation go back to normal. We can't do anything about that. So it's not really for me to say.
It's already impacted your profit, your numbers missed estimates. Do you expect the numbers to continue to be impacted until there is an improvement in the situation?
So I think specifically actually our numbers in Hong Kong held up really well, and our Asian business created 87% of our profits that we announced last week. So the impact's been relatively muted so far, but I think if the civil unrest continues, then obviously that would have a negative impact on it. I can see it myself in my everyday life, so hotels, hospitality, restaurants, you definitely see it there. I think maybe in other sectors it's a bit less obvious, but all of that has a negative impact on the economy of Hong Kong, and none of that's good for us when we are the community bank, and we're super committed to Hong Kong. We've done a lot of things to try and help the community in the meantime, but we can't control the political situation, so that's beyond us.
Hong Kong is already in recession. Do you expect a turnaround anytime soon? Any clarity, any time frame you're looking at?
I don't think anybody can make sensible predictions about that. We're not making predictions. We are totally committed to Hong Kong. We're putting a lot of effort and we're putting our money where our mouth is on that. And we just hope it resolves sooner rather than later, and then that will be good for Hong Kong, and what's good for Hong Kong is good for us.
What's your take on the status of the global economy right now? U.S. China trade tensions persist. Will that eventually be reflected in your numbers?
Well, I think you already saw it in our Q3 results, particularly U.S. interest rates, which even though we're not that big in the US, so much of global trade and our transaction banking business is driven in US dollars, and then many of the markets we operate in globally are, if not pegged to the US dollar, their reference currency is the US dollar. So that's clearly had an impact. We had record second quarter results and then disappointing third quarter results, and that's mostly around interest rates. Then you pile into that the US China tensions, uncertainty around Brexit, the unrest that you mentioned in Hong Kong, and all of that makes for a tricky situation for us, and we're working our way through it.
There are also other pressures on HSBC. The BOE has twice warned HSBC about its conduct to do with risk controls. I mean, are you doing enough to address the issue?
We think we are. We're working really hard on that agenda. We have spent a lot of time, money, and effort on it. We just have to keep doing it. We're not perfect, nobody else is. We just need to grind it out and get it done.
Has the BOE specified any measures that needed to be taken by HSBC?
Every bank in the world from its lead regulator gets a letter roughly once a year, and it gives indications of what it would like to see done over the next year. We, like every bank, have had one of those. We're working on those points.
The conversations at this FinTech Festival focuses a lot on digital banking and how even countries like Singapore are issuing digital licenses to non-bank players. What do you deem as the challenges or difficulties that traditional banks may face as a result?
Oh, look, our customers of the traditional banks, not just HSBCs, are very attracted to some of the things they see in the digital world. And we need to be at least as good as all of those attackers and replicate those, and we spend a lot of time copying with pride and stealing all their best ideas and see if we can work them into our digital applications, whether that's in our retail business or in our commercial business or our global banking and markets business. We need to run really hard to keep up. But in the end, for most people as individuals, banking's not a digital-only thing, it's a multi-channel thing. And so we have an advantage too, which is we've got some great people. We get some fantastic feedback about our colleagues in branches, contact centers, and our relationship managers for our business customers. If we can be nearly as good as the digital attackers and blend that great technology with great people, and we think we've come a long way in the last couple of years, then I think it'd be quite hard for the attackers to really attack us. But they'll keep trying, and it keeps us on our game. It's all good.